Here we've got a 5th gen 4Runner. Got the factory halogen assemblies on this 2020. They moved to LED in 21. Factory halogen fog lights, we'll be changing those out. And we've even got a taillight swap coming too. So these are LED based, however there is a incandescent turn signal along with a backup light. So parking and brake are LED, but we'll be changing these out to a full LED assembly. And we'll show you what we do. Here's what the output looks like, factory halogens. These are all right. A lot of people complain about them. They put in LED bulbs. They don't really have the best hotspot. You can see most people don't think too highly of these, and the fog lights, honestly, they're quite weak. I've taped up the wall to mark the factory height. We're going to match that. Probably with the fog lights might increase it a little bit. It's a little bit low, but you can dial that in however you want. And we'll also be taking a lux measurement next. So lux measures the intensity. You know, the way my readings go, basically just taking a baseline, seeing what kind of max lux we can find right under the hotspot. I think I saw about 230 on the driver's side. And on the passenger side, a little bit less. So let's go off of 230. Fog lights, it's a little bit difficult because these fogs don't stay on without the low beams on, so it's hard to get a measurement unless I cover it. But you can see they're quite weak. They don't really have a lot of distance or a lot of width. We'll be installing something a little bit better. But this vehicle has very low miles. It's pretty much brand new still. It's only got a few thousand miles. Customer was thinking about selling it, upgrading to something different, but we convinced him to stay with it and just upgrade the lighting. I think he'll be much happier with everything that we're about to install. And here's how everything looks before we get started. Doesn't look terrible, but it could use a little bit of a facelift. The 4Runner didn't have any LED daytime running lights, even the brand new model. So it's a little bit sad the 5th gen never got that update. A lot of the other Toyotas did. But that's what we have aftermarket assemblies. And the Morimotos will be going in shortly. Best way to get started, just rip off that front bumper. Remove one headlight at a time. That way you can match things up properly. You can make sure everything's working. We'll need to run the fuse line to the fuse box, the extra DRL wire. And there's just one thing to transfer that bottom headlight bracket that holds the bumper on. Gets screwed onto the Morimoto assembly. You gotta run the line, like I just mentioned, to the fuse box. Aside from that, it's plug and play. We'll match up the height of the original beam. We can compare them next. But you don't wanna just throw everything on the vehicle and then worry about alignment later. You wanna make sure the light's aligned before you button everything up. You wanna get fully dialed in, essentially. But all the connections are plug and play on the Morimoto assemblies. And that's what's going down. Okay, I've got that driver's side assembly installed, aligned. At this point, you always want to make sure that everything works. Test the turn signal, make sure the sequence mode is how you like it, either sequential or standard. Make sure the high beam works. Make sure you got your fuse tab hooked up correctly. Make sure all the functions work, essentially. All right, then you can move on to the other side. But that's how this goes down. You want to check your steps along the way. We see a nice big increase here with these Morimoto assemblies, and you can see that hotspot is right where you want it. It's really nicely optimized, and can't wait to see a little bit more as we move along. And move into the front end. Ooh, looks really good. I personally like darker housings. They give a more aggressive, sportier look, and I think that's just what this 4Runner needed. The housing is darker, but doesn't impede performance in any way. It's just the housing. The projectors are doing that job. And yeah, I'm gonna move on to the passenger side now, but that is looking really sweet. Got the passenger side installed. Fuse line is ran to the headlight assembly. Again, it's all plug and play, made sure all the functions worked, got it aligned, and now we're moving on to the fogs. So Morimoto does make some fog lights for this. The customer decided on the Diode Elite series. There is a cover over the passenger side that just gets removed. And there's 2 screws on the left here on the outsides, and it slips into these little joints here. We'll pop these out, we'll put in the new fog lights, and I'll show you how all that works. So here we got the Diode Elite series on the right hand side. You can see they're very kind of like OEM LED style. They've got a little lens in there. It gives you a wider beam pattern, very crispy and sharp cutoff. That way you're not blinding anybody with your fog lights. And unlike the SS3s, you don't need to build these, or the 4-bangers, you just install them. So installation is more simple. These are definitely the more affordable option. All around, they're an excellent upgrade. And these are the factory halogen fog lights here. So you got a replaceable bulb. You can change it to an LED bulb, but it's just not quite as good. You'll have a lot of extra glare and stray light, and you can see there's no bulbs on this housing. It's an integrated LED assembly. And these are street legal for fog light use. You can see the SAE stamping on the lens. Another cool feature that's built into the Elite series is the backlight. Now, it's a 4-pin plug with 3 pins on it, one of them being a power wire for the backlight. If you don't care for the amber backlight, that's the only option, because that's the only legal option in the front end amber backlight. You don't need to hook this up, otherwise you can run this with the included wire tap connector to a parking light, the ignition source, whatever you want. This will be a plug and play adapter to your factory fogs, and all you need to do is make sure that you have them aligned. All right, got the bumper slipped back into place. It's crucial to get everything, I don't have anything bolted down yet, but you want to have everything snapped in. It needs to be seated. If you want to make sure, you can pop in a few of these rivets, but the bumper needs to be seated as if it's ready to be essentially bolted back on. At this point, you want to stop, take a breather, make sure the fog lights work, and take a look at your output. You can see we got a lot going on and it's way too high. So before we do anything else, we want to make sure we can get them adjusted in the proper range. All right, I've got these dialed in quite nicely, as you can see, just a little bit higher than the stock fog lights. Those were aimed really low. These are fully adjustable. You can see they got a nice deep color band, which makes for a cool effect when it's coming down the road, but you won't be blinding anybody because that cutoff is ultra crispy and sharp. All right, everything is dialed in on the front end. Moving on to the rear. Love these Elite series. I love the way they fit. Super flush here. As mentioned, that crispy cutoff is really nice, but these fit better than probably any other fog light assembly on the market. I do love the SS3s and the 4-bangers, but the fitment of the Elite series is really nice. Not that the other ones have a bad fitment, this looks really OEM plus, and I really like it. That's the new Gen 2 Morimoto XB LED Taillight assembly on the rear here now. It's a smoked version. That's the parking light, or the running light. A lot different than the stock one, but in a good way. It's all personal. You may or may not like it, but I think it looks awesome and it looks very fitting and a great match for the Morimoto headlight assemblies. All right, it's fully wrapped up now. Got this whole thing tied together. Again, these are the smoked versions. I think they look really good against this metallic gray color. Let me turn them on for you. Again, this is parking light mode. Just really love how it looks. Let us know what you think about this whole thing. At the front and rear. Oh yeah, also did some white LED license plate lights. I mean, this thing is kind of fully modernized. Sadly, Toyota was a little bit behind on the 5th gen 4Runner. not behind, it's an older platform and they really haven't updated it too much. So it's cool to see aftermarket manufacturers coming out with stuff that still looks good and that enthusiasts will still appreciate. But yeah, give us a subscribe on the channel, please. Leave a comment below. If you guys need any parts, reach out to us directly. If you want a phone consultation, you can call us. We'll gladly assist you. Get a one-on-one personalized consultation about what is the best for your lighting needs and your budget, because we've got access to all the lighting goodies that you can think of, and we can make good recommendations on what to use. All right, so thanks again. Subscribe. Thank you for your support. See you next time.